when I watch this guy just now, when I watch him on other video, and look, I've never met the person. I've never met the man. We passed on this deal 3 times, not because we had any inside information, but because the valuation never made sense. I mean, crazy valuations, multiples of
when FTX approached Morgan Creek to invest.
Yeah. So, lots of people did invest in 3 different financing rounds. We, like any other venture capitalists, were approached to participate. And we just said no. And again, no information. We didn't know it was fraud until too late. But the bottom line, had I ever met him, I'm fairly confident in saying that I would have turned and run away. And his ex-girlfriend, Caroline, worse. I mean, anyone who's seen the video of her, that person was no way in charge of a $20 billion trading enterprise, which turns out there was no trading enterprise. So what I am willing to believe is that these 2 are useful idiots.
Right.
They are just pawns in a very large, very elaborate system that was designed, 1, to do money laundering, and there's clear evidence of money laundering. 2, that perhaps that they lied about collateral. They said they had good collateral, and they didn't. That's fraud. Same thing that 3 Arrows Capital did when they told lenders that they had good collateral or they had equity, which they didn't. You can't have a balance sheet with $700 million of assets and $10 billion of liabilities without committing fraud. It's not possible.
Okay, so you say you have evidence that he committed fraud, but for legal reasons, you can't disclose it in detail now. But you do have tremendous conviction that fraud was committed. And now I want to go back to a point that you made that perhaps is less solid evidence, and that is this idea that SBF and Caroline could have been pawns, as you say, in what could have been what you call an intentional takedown of the sector. So let's firstly get some background here. SBF was the 2nd largest donor to the Democratic Party this year after George Soros. He gave almost $40 million to Democratic politicians and Democratic political action committees. And in his interview with influencer Tiffany Fong, he claimed, though, however, that he gave just as much to Republicans, but that those donations were dark and that he didn't publicize them. And you say that this is an unbelievably elegant takedown of a threat. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah. So look, again, supposition, no direct evidence, but supposition that, look, we're in the 3rd phase of what I'll call the 4 phases of digital asset adoption. So it's the famous Gandhi quote, right? First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And, from 2009 to 15, when digital assets were created and Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin and then other assets followed, they ignore you, right? It was like a bunch of nerds and geeks playing with their magic internet money, whatever. Then they laugh at you. So 2016 to 21, a bunch of nerds and geeks playing with their magic internet money. Oh, look, one of these nerds and geeks actually named the Miami Stadium. Okay, big deal. When the internet came out, the telephone companies tried to get a law passed through lobbying that would make voice over internet protocol, which you and I are using right now. We're communicating long distance for free over the internet. Phone companies didn't like that. They tried to get a law passed, and I will give Al Gore credit. He did not invent the internet, but he did stop that bill with some help from friends. And so we have an internet that works. And so regulation is a tool used by incumbents. And what does blockchain technology do? It replaces trust with truth. Well, who are the arbiters of trust today? Financial institutions, third-party middle people, $7 trillion industry. Okay, they would like to not be disrupted by DeFi and digital assets. So it's possible that some group of incumbents might have tried to lobby for regulation to delay, obfuscate, change the course of the disruption, perhaps. So that's what it's possible. I'm not saying it's true, but it's possible.
Definitely many parties that are interested in seeing blockchain.
Is it a surprise that his father went to Yale Law School with a lot of people who are in government and perhaps is a known expert on trust law? Interesting. Advisor to some of the regulatory agencies. Caroline's father, the head of the economics department at MIT. Her dad was Gary Gensler's boss. All of these things just they paint a really interesting picture. Mm-hmm. And I said, I have nothing but the utmost respect for the SEC. I think up to this point, and I will say up to this point, and particularly under Jay Clayton's leadership, they were measured, they were consistent. They consistently said, this is not a security, this is not a security, these other things may be securities. I thought they did a great job. They didn't come out and say, oh, everything's a security. They didn't say, oh, we're going to try to ban it like China did. So I actually think the SEC has done a really, really good job up to this point. But there's something funny about two kids with no experience and clearly no. Now, the part that's missing is how the money got from customer accounts into Sam's pocket to make the political contributions. That's a little bit unclear, but that's where the fraud comes in. And, it's really interesting because it goes to the girlfriend thing. So years ago, there was a situation where there was a big mutual fund, money market account. And a lot of the endowments used this money market account because it had a little higher rate. And the reason it had a little higher rate was the manager did something called index arbitrage. Yeah. Sound very similar to what Sam said. Oh, it's just DEX arbitrage. It's price in Japan versus price in London. Index arbitrage. Well, index arbitrage, you go long the index and then you go short the 500 names in the index and you can make a little spread and you can make a little money. Unless you don't get all the trades off one day and you got $495 and you lose a little bit of money. So he lost about $30,000. His girlfriend was the back office person. He says, hon, just cover that up for me. I'll trade my way out of it tomorrow. 2 years went by and we typed in money laundering. Yeah. That's the picture that would show up. I mean, not that particular bank, but that is exactly how you do money laundering. And it's amazing to me that that's not being talked about. I mean, and it's funny. I haven't said this publicly, so you'll get the exclusive on it, that I used to cringe when the government types would say, Bill Gates would say this and Bernanke would say it and Yellen would say it. And all these people would say, crypto is only used by money launderers and terrorists. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a tiny fraction. I had no idea they had inside information, that they were the ones doing the laundering with crypto, right? Wow. So that is money laundering, full stop. And there are other examples in that list of companies that are clearly money laundering.
So who do you think, if we're going to talk about this then, who do you think was on the receiving end of this money laundering?
Politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems abundantly clear